Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I am the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I return to you once again to be the boundless voice of the Vasectomites. And today, I wanted to talk about a topic, and quite frankly, it's become a philosophy, if I have to, give it its proper place in our society. It's a philosophy that has been made very popular, once again, by online philosophers. I talk about these online philosophers all the time. And maybe I should just go ahead and make a video about them and their failed philosophies. But I've done one or two already, but there's so many of them, I could just keep going. But here we are discussing another online philosophy that they have popularized, right? And not just in a simple way. They have popularized it and normalized it and made it a common mainstream talking point to the point where it has become, quite frankly, a common and standard dating practice. I'm talking about shock testing. That's right, I called it shock testing. I'm not going to say the word that is implied on the screen, but I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna start using foul language right now, but I can use euphemisms and innuendo that I believe will be just as effective over the long run, at least. So, shock testing, right, is really something that I try to define. I try to find a concise, workable, adaptable meaning for the word shock test. And I have to admit, it was surprisingly much harder than what I had anticipated and what I thought it would be. For such a very popular, well-known, ubiquitous term, you would think that it was, very well defined. You would think that there were people who understood what it was well enough to deliver us a clear, concise, meaningful, workable definition that everyone can observe, analyze, reanalyze, and ponder for themselves should they choose to. But nothing of the like. Nothing of the like. What I discovered instead is that no one can actually tell you exactly what the term shock testing actually means. Not only that, they cannot tell you what exactly the practices are of shock testing. So, on the one hand, it's something that is discussed as a particular type of behavior, but the practices of that behavior are undefined. Not only that, We don't have any boundaries or limitations to say, well, shock testing starts like this, it evolves into this, and ultimately concludes in this way, and therefore these are the outcomes, the consequences, and the repercussions of passing or failing a shock test. As I was also looking, right, there were articles that tried to give you different scenarios of what a shock test really is, right? I came across an article that said 8 different shock tests. Then there was another one that said 82 different shock tests. Then there was another one that said 180 different shock tests, how to face them and how to overcome them. I don't have that type of patience. I know I'm a person who's all about the details, but when those details evolve in sporadic, undefined, unclear ways, and the people that are practicing and using those details are themselves unsound, I dare not venture to go. I dare not venture to go because what I see is lunacy. What I see is lunacy. Anything could be a shock test, according to these people. Anything from breathing to laughing to making a spelling mistake could be a shock test. But simultaneously, poor spelling, incompetence, ill discipline, those things could be a positive in a shock test. So, on the one hand, you could behave like a sound, logical individual to a person who is looking for somebody who is quite unhinged and out of control, right? And thereby you fail the shock test. But the same person, under the same circumstance, if you behaved in an unhinged and uncontrollable way that lacks self control and self discipline, they would disqualify you for that behavior, right? So instead of being able to find one workable definition for what a shock test is, and eventually I did discover something that I thought would be interesting for us to look at in terms of what shock testing is. I didn't go for the long detailed things because they just went on and on with nothing. It could be as simple as drinking 4 cups of sugar in your tea instead of 3, and you're disqualified. It could be you could be disqualified for being unhealthy and for being too healthy. I promise you. I promise you. I was like, I'm not tolerating this. I'm not tolerating this at all, right? But what I arrived at, instead of a workable definition, I arrived at what seemed to be various levels, various acts, various degrees, various kinds and types of insults, verbal insults, insults through actions, insults directly and indirectly. So they'll insult you to your face and they'll insult you behind your back to their friends and family, right? And everybody will be in on the joke except you, sitting there like a fool, not knowing you're being tested somehow, right? And you could be tested and not even be aware that you're being tested, right? And you could fail the test and then be disqualified for failing the test, and you could fail the test and then be qualified for failing the test. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous what this nonsense is. And I was like, come on. These are just insults, belittling, undermining, humiliating behavior. This is all this is. It's just what society has done is given the counterpart a lane and a license and an excuse for ill behavior. And as usual, what the counterpart has done is taken that lane and made it the norm. The minute they were allowed to be disrespectful, whatever excuse you give them to be disrespectful, they'll take it. Listen to me. These are people who disrespect their own fathers. These are people who disrespect the people who raised them, who fed them, who clothed them, who, should their lives fall apart, they will run straight back to those people and act like they never disrespected them. And not only that, they will act like that disrespect wasn't that bad and it doesn't really matter. And if you really love me, you should overlook it. And if that doesn't work, they'll just say, oh, it was just a shock test. It was just a shock test to see how well you would perform under a ton of disrespect. And that's the conclusion that I came up to. When you put all these things together and you try and you define them, they all add up to disrespect, right? It's just another way for you to be lowered down into a submissive position where you can bend a knee, right, and capitulate to the egos of these losers. And this gives them an excuse in order to exploit that. That's what it is. They are exploiting this meaningless definition. This is why they love meaningless definitions. Words like emotional intelligence, which I am telling you as an intelligent, qualified, experienced professional, emotional intelligence means absolutely nothing. I'm telling you, it means nothing. You cannot identify it. You cannot point to it. You cannot pick it up. You cannot hold it. You cannot sell it. You cannot trade it. Not a single bank, not a single government, not a single institution in the world will accept emotional intelligence as a skill. You cannot tell me that you were employed and stayed in your position for 15 years because you were emotionally intelligent. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. And a shock test is not a thing either. It is just another lane and just another avenue for you to receive disrespect, and then thereby they will have something to exploit in order to avoid repercussions. So they want to be able to disrespect you and then hide behind this term, this meaningless term called shock testing, right? And then say that by you not being able to receive the disrespect that you're getting in a kind-hearted, generous, and courteous way, you are therefore disqualified. You are not up to par. You are not good enough. You are not at the right level. You are not of the right mind. There's something wrong with you. If you can't take me disrespecting you for no reason all the time, regardless of the effort that you make, then there's something wrong with you. And you know when they'll do it? You know when they'll do it? They'll do it when you take them out on a date. So you'll make an effort to do something nice for them, something that, quite frankly, no man has ever done. And quite frankly, even their own father would never do. You'll take her on a vacation. You'll put her in a hotel. Listen to me. Most of these people, the furthest their father ever took them was out of town. Some of these people, their fathers never even put them on a flight. That's why they want to travel so badly, because they never been nowhere. Only a person who has never traveled thinks that airports are exciting. You know what I'm telling you? You know the kind of people that are taking photos at the airport? If you go to the airport enough times, it starts to feel like a military operation. It is literally one step in front of the other in a way that you cannot control or stop. And if you tried, they would arrest you. If you try to deviate from the course of what the airport and the airplanes have set forth, you cannot eat at a different time. You cannot sleep at a different time. You cannot go to the bathroom at specific times. Certain times you gotta put your seatbelt on and sit there like a good little boy and a good little girl. That's how airports are run. And you wouldn't know that if you had never traveled. And you would only be able to travel if somebody took you there. And there you are paying for this person to go to a beachside resort on an exotic island, flying first class and whatnot. And she gets there and has the audacity to say she doesn't really like all this kind of stuff. She says she doesn't really like all this kind of stuff. She's the kind of person who would rather stay home and go to a nightclub or some tavern in her local area where they sell greasy food from 2 weeks old grease. Cooked in 2 weeks old grease. They have cooked 10,000 meals in that grease. And that's where she'd rather be, instead of overlooking this beautiful, tremendous horizon with that perfect, picturesque sunset. You know, the sunset that hits those palm trees, right? So you get the palm tree, and you get a bit of a cloud, and you get a bit of a sunset, and then you got the ocean, and there's the boat, there's the people, you know what I mean? And then just then, as you hit that capture button on the camera, a bird soars and opens its wings. And there you go, your summer vacation. And there's this person saying that she would much rather be, instead of this tremendous paradise where they are literally serving food fresh from the sea, not another sea, this sea right here, the one that we're looking at, they catch it fresh. It's so fresh, it hasn't even been defrosted. And they give it to you. Wholesome, healthy, Mother Nature's goodness, delicious. And she'll say she feels like chicken wings and french fries. These kind of situations, for me, no. For me, I'm not tolerating even the slightest snide comment. And that's what you're heading into. Disrespect at the worst possible time. At the worst possible time. And then she'll justify it. Then she'll justify it and say, oh no, she's just assessing you. Assessing me? I brought you to paradise. You are not qualified to assess me. So I decided to define the word disrespect. And I have to be honest with you, that wasn't helpful either. A more interesting expression, in fact, is to define the word respect first, and then use that word in the inverse, in the opposite, so that we can see what it means to be without respect. Right? Instead of looking at disrespect, which is, the absence of respect, not a very helpful definition. Let's look at what respect really is. And respect is, listen to these words. Listen to these words. To admire someone deeply. To admire someone deeply as a result of their ability, what they can do, their qualities, their personality, their intelligence, their charm, and their achievements, their financial status, their social status, their academics, their physical health and whatnot. All the things that we call success. To admire a person for the success they have achieved and the way that they've done it and the character with which they have done it with, thereby earning your respect. Now, the opposite of these glorious words would be, by logic, to loathe, detest, and deplore someone for their inabilities, for their lack of abilities, for their lack of quality and personality. So not only are they lame and they have no power for accomplishment, so you loathe them because they are lame, they are lazy, they have no quality, they have no personality, they have no intelligence, right? They have no perspective, unique perspective, no nuance to their point of view. They lack quality, they lack personality, and thereby they are failures in life. Right? Respect, to admire someone; disrespect, to loathe, detest, and deplore that person. To admire someone deeply as a result of their ability; to loathe someone and deplore them for their lack of ability. They are waste, they are useless. Right? We're looking at the opposite meanings in contrast. Their qualities, their personalities, their traits, their meanness, their laziness, right? Their cowardice, right? Things like that. And achievements would be the opposite of achievements would be failures. And this to me sounds just like a knee bender. And it sounds exactly like the type of person that would allow themselves to be shock tested in this deplorable way, right? The feelings that a person must feel for you in order for them to disrespect you in these specific ways and then hide behind the guise of, oh, I'm assessing you, right? And the reason I say this is because think about what testing actually implies, right? A test is an assessment to assess your competence, your skill, your intelligence, your abilities in order to qualify you for a higher position in life, higher position at work, higher status in society, or to advance you to a higher level. So you get tested to go from high school to university, from I don't know, the 10th grade to the 11th grade, from one grade to the next grade, effectively, right? You get tested, and only when you are successful at the test do you advance to the next level, to the better level. Only then do you get to rise. Only then are you uplifted. So who can help you to rise? Who is this person? Right? Ask yourself, who actually gives a test in reality? Who actually gives tests? Who assesses these things? It is always a superior who assesses an inferior. It is always a senior who assesses a junior. It's always a teacher who assesses a student. It's always a professor who assesses a student. It is the master who assesses the apprentice. And it is the master who decides if the apprentice is worthy or not, if the student is going to pass, if the student is going to graduate and move on to the next level, rise above their current status. This is why I call us, our community here, the practitioners of the deceptive arts. And it's not a case of master and apprentice. And I call myself the master of the deceptive arts, right? And this is not because I'm here to give you instruction, right? I do have wisdom I can share. I do have knowledge I can share. And I share that knowledge freely, and that wisdom and that opinion and that point of view. Now, you don't have to take it. You can disagree with it, but it is available. And that is worth something, right? It is available. Here, in the deceptive arts, you become a master when you decide that you have mastered yourself, you have mastered your abilities, and you are at the top of your skills. Only you can decide if you have achieved mastery as and of yourself. This is why I say practitioners of the deceptive arts. I cannot call you a master of the deceptive arts, and you cannot call me a master of the deceptive arts. You can master the deceptive arts for yourself, and I can master my own skills for myself. I will tell you who I am. You don't tell me who I am. I told you I was the master of the deceptive arts, and I decided that by myself, as you must decide who you are for yourself. Don't let nobody tell you who you are, ever. I don't care if they birthed you. They don't have that right. It's your life. You decide. You decide. No one can tell you that you have now reached that level within yourself. You have to know within yourself that you have reached that level. I say, know thyself. Know thyself. But this is not what you will see from these knee benders and the counterparts, a sense of self-knowledge. Here you see with the knee benders, you see a man. Just marinate on these words for a moment. You see a man who volunteers, who willingly volunteers to pay bills for a complete and incompetent stranger. Just sit on that for a moment. This person you don't know, you volunteer to pay their bills. This person happens to be completely incompetent, right? With no power or capability for self-accomplishment. And what they ask of you is that in order to win their approval, right? And in order to prove yourself adequate to them, you have to lower yourself. You have to lower yourself to the point of allowing a complete stranger to belittle you, to humiliate you, to dehumanize you, to emasculate you, to embarrass you, right? And just think about how this approval is actually won. How does one actually win the approval of a counterpart? What is the great feat that he must achieve? What heights must he climb to and soar above? What magnitude of success must this man accomplish to win this prize, this great possession, this victory of paying bills for an ingrate? What must he do to grab this success? He has to allow himself to be a complete fool. Just think about this. The foolishness of you volunteering to pay somebody's bills. In order to qualify for that foolishness, you have to act further as a fool. But not only that, you have to allow these people, these ingrates, these incompetent, incapable people to amuse themselves at your expense and to bask in your buffoonery. Can you imagine? Can you absolutely imagine? To me, it comes as no surprise. I believe that most of your endeavors are foolish anyway. But none is more foolish than allowing somebody to shock test you into paying their bills and sustaining their existence. I cannot make logical sense of this combination of moves based on the outcome that you're getting. Are you seriously telling me that you are paying to be disrespected? Are you seriously telling me that not only do you are you're on an island and you're gonna let this person disrespect you? You have paid the highest price to receive the lowest, most. It is not even a witty insult. It is just crass, rude, basic, just basic. Just her saying, I feel like wings. I feel like wings. I feel there's a lobster right there. A lobster prepared with the freshest ingredients. You can smell them in the air. And she wants wings and chips, French fries. I cannot tolerate that. I cannot tolerate a low life. I don't care. I don't care who you think you are. You're a low life. To me, if you cannot be in a great situation and thereby be grateful, number one, you're incompetent. Number two, you're a low life. You can't even read the room. You can't look at the situation and assess in your mind that this is a good situation. Do you know how many vacations these people have spoiled? And then say, my husband never takes me on vacation because he took you on vacation. And then you said you preferred wings and chips. So all he does now is feed you wings and chips, which, by the way, she doesn't even like. She's going to be complaining that she never eats delicious lobster ever again. And she done it to herself. I cannot understand why you would want to tolerate this type of ingrate under these types of circumstances, right? And she believes this person. Just think about the mind, the level, the I mean, I can't even call it a level, the absence of thought of a person to think that this act in this moment, this type of disrespect, this uncouth, uncultured, unrefined behavior is gonna win her your approval. This is how they win approval, through insults. Just process this, right? Just process this. Imagine an accomplished man must pay to embarrass himself, lower himself, demeaning himself, only so he can continue to pay more by being further demeaned and further lowered. And allowing yourself to be disrespected in this way, right, is supposed to be an indication of your affection. This is supposed to be an indication of the depth of your patience, right? But ask yourself, what are you being affectionate to? Look at the situation and then listen to the words coming out of this empty vessel. Listen to her compare fresh sea lobster prepared in a 5-star hotel, beachfront resort, overlooking just the most magnificent horizon you can imagine in your life, prepared by a Michelin star chef, right? Who went and picked these ingredients fresh himself and only chose them when they were up to his Michelin star standards, of which I cannot even imagine what they are. I don't even know what a Michelin is. Don't they make tires? Anyway, this man, the tire chef, he's good at what he does. And he prepares this magnificent spread. And this one here in front of you, this person that you have no choice but to listen to, compares this quality of food to a meal that was cooked in 2 weeks old grease oil, deep fried to death. Chicken that is spiced so much so you cannot taste the fact that it's already gone bad. And she wants to compare that to this. She wants to compare that environment. You know, the kind of place where you sit on the leather seats and they're sticky, but the leather's worn off. So they're sticky and they're rough. You know what I'm talking about? They have a crack. The leather's cracked. That's how old it is. And she wants to compare that to this 5-star resort. And you allow this. You don't only allow it, you tolerate it and you encourage it. Right? Do you really want the approval of a disrespectful, destitute ingrate, right? Whose only accomplishment in life are the handouts she sporadically receives from people who would rather pay her to leave than to have her stay for free. And this includes her father. Is this what you really want to do, is spend your life doing this? Just think about that. Think about who you are allowing to test you and the type of test that you're tolerating and receiving anyway. What are you doing? Why are you allowing this person to disrespect you like this and then continue to reward her? Why are you bending the knee? Right? I mean, I know you're not an intelligent person, but assess the situation realistically now that we've discussed it, you and I. Assess exactly what you're doing and look at what you're receiving in exchange. Is what you are giving equal to what you are receiving? Not even as much as a thank you. You don't even get as much as a thank you. She takes all the selfies, leaves you right out of all those pictures, posts them to make herself attractive to other men. Yes, she's posting those pictures to entice other men. It's not to show off to her lame girlfriends. Because those lame girlfriends could do just the same thing. They could find someone to take them somewhere and insult him too. No, she's doing it to attract other men. And you're paying for that. And when you don't tolerate that, she's going to say that you're weak because now you failed her test and you have allowed her to create a test that disrespects you. And every time you say, nah, this is too far. You don't do this. You don't treat me like this. You don't talk to me like that. You don't show me disrespect like this. I don't do something for you. I'm not the kind of person to who I do something for you. I don't care if I've given you a grain of salt. You say thank you. For every grain of rice, for every crumb of bread, for every drop of water. Even if that water happens to be my sweat, I'm giving it to you. You have to be grateful for it. Let alone be brought here into paradise just for you to compare this to that shanty town that you come from. To compare this paradise to that shanty town that you come from. And then tell me that I failed a test from a person like that. A person whose only comparison to this 5-star meal is chicken wings. Is chicken wings. So let's have a look, you and I, at exactly what some people will describe or say in their opinion is a shock test. And I think this reading here is very meaningful, but it's just a tip of the iceberg. It is just a tip of the iceberg. I just didn't have the time to go through it all. And I'm not even going to make the time. It is just bad all the way around. It is bad for you to receive that test. It is bad for you to pass that test. Why would you want to pass this type of assessment? And then what do you get after you do pass? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and you shouldn't be tolerating it. Before we continue any further, let me start by saying, guys, please go freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Again, I'm going to say freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy so you don't have to find yourself in a situation where you have to tolerate the kind of situation that we are about to read about right now. Now, I had to go into urbandictionary.com to get this information. The authors are mentioned at the bottom of sort of every definition, but these aren't their real names. But the information, I thought, is what we are really after. And if you're going to put out decent information and not put your name onto it like I did, you know what I mean? I'm not out here using my real name. I understand, but this then means that we cannot give you credit where your credit is due. So this first definition, if you look right at the bottom of your screen on the right, was published on August 7th, 2019. The next one I have is from 2023. So this is all pretty recent stuff. It was published by, it says Young Simba, 1991. You see, things like this. Now I gotta credit Young Simba, 1991. Okay, Young Simba, 1991. Thank you for your meaningful words. We are happy to receive them and review them for ourselves. But there's the link to where I found this information on urbandictionary.com. It says, shared definition. Actually, it should have said shock test and then shared definition, right? A manufactured grievance a woman uses to test the mental competence and confidence of her mate. Now, hold on a moment. You've already chosen this person as your mate. And now that they are your mate, now you want to decide their mental, their competence, and their confidence, right? And how do you test a person's confidence, right? How exactly do you go about testing an individual's confidence? So is this a situation where, this is what I don't like about these tests, right? If I am a skilled football player and I'm a very talented athlete, right? And you test my skills in football, I assure you my mental will remain strong, as will my resolve. My competence will prove high, as well as my confidence, because I'm in my element. But you take that same person and you put him in front of a room full of academics and you ask him to lecture on the finer points of global economic trade between Europe, Asia, and South America. Go. No way. He's never going to do it, right? He's never, unless he has spent hours and hours and hours doing research. But he's not going to suddenly give you his nuanced take on the situation right now, bringing back knowledge from the past and tells you this is where I believe we are and this is the direction, this is the moves that I would make. This is how I would secure myself. This is what I would invest in. This is what I would buy. This is what I would sell. This is what I would keep. This is what I would throw away. He wouldn't be able to do that. But what they will do is they will take a fish, put it out of water, and say, oh, look, not such a great fish now. Why can't you swim on land? Right? This is my problem with this situation. It's manufactured, it's not real. The word manufactured to me says that it is premeditated. It is planned. It is part of the scheme. She knows already that she's going to say something to disrespect you at the worst possible moment. You're going to do something spectacular that on the one hand, she'll tell you, no one has ever done anything like this for me in my life. And instead of appreciating that, she's going to tell you, but I like chicken wings and French fries. You will bring out the most expensive, most rare bottle of champagne, and this person will have the audacity to compare it to a carbonated soda. If you think I'm joking, you have not seen the depth of uselessness. You just have to sit there and listen to her. And if you have the audacity to explain to her what she's saying and how pathetic it actually really is, you would have given her just the thing that she needs to explode and to blow up and to perform. And then you have to remind her that she compared a Michelin star lobster to chicken wings. Right? You gotta remind her that, that she's comparing the misery of her upbringing and lifestyle to actual luxury. And she's unable to identify the situation that she's in. You can take, how do they say, you can take the boy out of that hood, but you cannot remove the hood out of that homeboy. It is an intentional provocation accompanied by an implicit and subconscious desire that a man put his foot down, set reasonable boundaries, and demonstrate that he will not be bullied, nagged, shamed, guilted into submission. Just listen to that nonsense, man. I don't even know where to start with this. I don't even know where to start. It is an entire diatribe of disrespect. Blatant, deliberate, it's done on purpose. This is what upsets me about these people and the people and these knee benders who support these counterparts. Listen to me very well. If your counterpart can go to work every single day and never say one foul word, 5 years, 10 years, never disrespected anybody, never fought against anybody, never broke nothing, never stole nothing, never accused no one of anything. If she can do that at work, she can do that at home. If she can get a 5% raise on her minimum wage salary and be grateful to get that 5% raise, she could be grateful for being in an exotic island, in a beachfront resort, eating the best quality food, eating the food that billionaires eat, the best of the best in the world. If she can say thank you for that meaningless 5% raise, that gets chewed up in taxes. It's just a symbolic gesture. It's a symbolic gesture. Her manager knows if they give her 10%, they actually have to pay her real money. At 5%, it's a symbolic gesture and it gets consumed by taxes. It means nothing. But she's grateful for that. She behaves right. she acts good. But for you, the man who bought her a house, who bought her a car, who bought her furniture, who took her flying overseas, put her up in a hotel, took her on a yacht, on a helicopter, on a catamaran. If you know what the hell that thing is, you put her on it. And she could care less. That's because she's ungrateful, man. Right? That is literally the definition of disrespect. She loathes you, right? Why else would she compare what you have done with this nonsense? And they do it all the time. They'll compare your success. Have you ever seen when they compare you to some other guy and you meet that guy and he is an absolute loser? You know, they'll tell you about this cool guy that they know who's so cool, and you meet him. And this is a guy who spends all day at the bus stop. You know what I mean? At like, not even the bus stop, at the bus depot. You know where the buses get washed? That's where he spends all day. Not even the bus stop where they meet customers, no, at the depot. And you meet this guy and you say, this cannot be the man that you bragged about, right? She will let you drive there. I promise you, this has happened to me. I was driving in a BMW SUV where she told me she had to pick up something from this cool guy that I was gonna meet in who wasn't too far away. It was at a bus depot, man. It was at a bus depot, and the guy was he was gambling with coins. Not even notes. He was gambling with coins on like some makeshift gambling board. It wasn't even a real board. They literally took a cardboard and drew some lines on it and played some game with rules that they made up, and they were gambling with coins. And I thought, you made me get out of my BMW for this. You made me get out of a BMW SUV with air conditioning and a sunroof, with that screen that's always giving updates about the situation. You know those screens? Like it's just the whole thing. There's no buttons, it's just a screen. You control the whole car from the screen. I was on that level. She made me go drive to a bus depot. And I was like, this cannot be the guy that you cannot shut up about. Just like those chicken wings, you eat those chicken wings, you're going to throw up. I'm telling you right now. Let's continue. Its purpose is to confirm for her that he is capable of doing what needs to be done to provide for and protect her and her children. There we go. I told you it was the knee benders. Oh, not the protect and the provide. Oh, not the house and the spouse. Oh my God. I should have seen this coming. I should have seen this coming. Protect and provide right on time. These knee benders. Consider this for a moment. Your ability to be insulted by an incompetent person is an indication that you have the capacity to support a family. How do you correlate those two things? I cannot. How do you come from, listen to this, right? Bullied, nagged, shamed, or guilted into submission with the aim that it's supposed to confirm for her that he is capable of doing what needs to be done to be provided for. So she's gonna do all this so that you tell her, stop doing that. And then when you tell her stop doing that, then she thinks, oh, this means he can't provide for me. Oh my God. This is so pathetic. These two things have no correlation whatsoever. And the idea that you would go through this disrespect thinking that it's going to prove to her that you can actually pay off a mortgage is insane to me. It is insane to me. I don't understand how these two things come together. How is you licking the bottom of her shoes the same thing as paying a mortgage? How do those two things even correlate? How is you being bullied, nagged, shamed, or guilted through a manufactured grievance and a provocation? How is that? What does that have to do with transferring money from one place to the other? I don't get it. I really, 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 really don't get it. This is why I was saying you could not find a functional, workable definition to this nonsense. It goes from one piece of nonsense to another. It's one thing to go from one extreme opposite to the other. No, but you go from one pile of nonsense to another pile of nonsense to another pile of nonsense that has nothing in common, and you correlate these things. These things have nothing to do with each other. These things have nothing to do with each other. Her disrespecting you and you and her being able to have a successful relationships have nothing to do with each other. It is just her disrespecting you and making sure that you stand there and take it. She's just amusing herself at your expense, and you are foolish enough and naive enough to believe that there's a value to it when there is none. There is absolutely none. And the reason you know there's no value is because she's trying to see that you can. How is her insulting you the same thing as keeping your children safe? What, I'm supposed to keep my children safe from bad words? Give me a break, man. Give me a break. Give me a break. How is her shaming you and guilting you with nonsense? How is that the same thing as paying the light bill and paying the water bill? How do those things correlate? So now she's gonna insult me, and then well, she insulted me. Guess it's time to pay the electricity. I don't get it. I don't. This don't make no sense to me. The subconscious thought process, subconscious. If he can't stand up to me, how will he be able to deal with the cavemen down the valley who keep us up all night revving their motorcycle, let alone help bring down a mastodon or fend off a saber-toothed tiger? What the hell is this guy talking about? What the hell is this guy talking about? What? Just listen to this. If he can't stand up to me, so you, I bring you here on holiday. Forget everything that I've done. Forget the money I've spent, the planning, the coordination, the intelligence, the foreign exchange, the visas, the passport, the hotels, the taxis, the cars, the trips, the buses, the boats, the yachts. Forget all of that. It's not what I've done and accomplished and paid for that's going to make the difference. It's this insult. It's you talking about this nonsense. This is going to make the difference to me. You know, I talked about a situation where when people end a conversation with you, even a short one, they need to feel like they've improved in some way. Not like a tremendous way, but they've at least received some type of useful, meaningful information. How is this useful? Listen to this. This is what you are protecting her for. This is what her insult demonstrates. Listen to this madness. Number one, she insults you. This means that you cannot deal with a caveman. A caveman in 2023, 2019, right? We have to be concerned with cavemen, a species of humanity that we have evolved past, like a quarter of a billion years ago. We evolved past the cavemen. This is her concern. You are being disrespected because of a caveman. You are being disrespected because some guy that you don't know, never met, has nothing to do with you, decided to ride a motorcycle down the street. Just listen to that for a moment. This man is riding a motorcycle. He revs it to speed up, goes past your house down the street, and therefore you must receive an insult. Can you process that with me? Can we just talk about the case? So let's just process this together for a moment, right? You're doing all this so that you can fight cavemen and chase motorcycles. So she's doing this to prove that you can fight something that is extinct and chase something that you won't catch. And then what? Let's say you catch this man on the motorcycle. What exactly are you going to say to him about his vehicle? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Make it go less louder? Make it go softer? This is the value of you receiving disrespect. What else? Oh yes. Oh yes. You now have to face down a mastodon and a saber-toothed tiger. You know what? I'm not even gonna talk about this. Let's move on. The worst thing this is what the worst thing a man can do when his woman is shock testing him is assume the grievance is genuine and cave into her. What does that even mean? So I receive an insult, right? My natural response is to insult you straight back. If you had told me that you prefer wings to this delicious spread here, to this lobster, I would tell you it's because you come from poor breeding. I would tell you that there's something wrong with not just your taste, but your taste buds. And you're the kind of person who won't eat something until just before it's rotten. And you're the kind of person who won't finish a product until after the expiry date. And I know I'm right. I know some of you will go into your fridge right now in your cabinet and you'll find something that is well past the expiry date. So don't tell me I'm wrong. Now I gotta go fight a saber-toothed tiger. I don't have time for this. I really don't have time for this. I cannot. So I have to pretend that this. So just imagine our scenario. We're at the island. We're at the resort. We're eating this delicious meal, and I get this insult from this loser. And not only is she doing it to amuse herself at my expense, I'm not supposed to take that insult as an insult. I'm supposed to see it as some gesture in order for me to prove myself that I can do great things. Just look around you. What more proof do you need of greatness than this? What more than this luxury hotel suite, this penthouse suite, this view, this oceanside front view, the room service, with the guy with the bow tie. You know those hotels where they still wear bow ties for no reason? That's what I'm talking about. You never been nowhere where people wear bow ties. None of you have been anywhere where people wear bow ties every single day. The only time you wear a bow tie is for a costume party. You don't wear it for work. And you want to tell me about wings? I'm supposed to listen to this person. And then And then I'm not supposed to take this personally. I'm supposed to look at this environment and match this environment to this statement and make it make sense. I'm supposed to take your words, your demeanor, your attitude, and then apply that to this environment and match these two things somehow. And this is what leads to conflict because what you're doing and the environment we're in, they just don't match. This shock testing situation just doesn't work. You're trying to find a provider by insulting him. And then when he receives that insult, you're saying, well, he's weak for not allowing me to insult him. And if he doesn't allow you to insult him, then he is overbearing. What? Why are you insulting me? Why insult me? Didn't your parents teach you how to say, like, how were you people raised that your parents never taught you to say thank you? Your parents never taught you to say thank you to a kindness. And you think I'm joking? These people were taught to never give a man a compliment. This is the truth. There are people whose mothers, whose aunts, whose grandparents told them you don't give a man a compliment. They were literally taught not to say thank you. I'm telling you, a shock test is nothing more than a sign and an indication of bad breeding. Nothing says bad breeding like an ingrate. There are people who will get fired from a job, and because they were raised properly, they will say, thank you for having given me the opportunity, and then leave with their bonus. These people, you can take them to paradise, and they'll compare paradise to the hellhole from whence they came. And you will not be able to logically put these things together because it makes no logical sense. The practice makes no sense, and the purpose for which it is trying to achieve makes no sense. You are trying to win somebody's approval by insulting them. What madness is this? And you got this advice from a person who was left behind by the person they insulted. So they insulted someone, that person left, and then they give you the advice to insult another person, and they tell you that you're going to get a completely different outcome to what they got. And they told you that if you insult someone, it will make them love you. Where? Where in the world has an insult never been responded to with a grievance, with violence? Where? What kind of nonsense is this? Right? Now you're fighting a saber-toothed tiger. Genius. Genius. It says, despite her seeming demand, I think it's seemingly demanding, or seeming demand that he submit. If he does, she will respect for him. She will lose respect for him. And once she loses respect for him, she will believe that she's with a man who is not worthy of her, which makes her angry and resentful of him. That doesn't make any sense. Despite her seeming demand that he submit, if he does, so she is going to demand that you do something. And when you do it, she's going to lose respect for you. Wasn't the purpose of this to find out that he's the right man for you? So on the one hand, you insult him, but you don't want him to be insulted. Oh, perfect. 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 This is exactly what we're talking about, right? This is exactly what we talk about when we talk about these counterparts. Nothing makes sense, man. This is just pathetic. And I understand. This is what I was trying to tell you about with these tests, with these shock tests. It just doesn't make no sense. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this. She will then escalate the test. Each grievance become more and more outrageous and irrational, in a desperate bid for him to finally draw the line and say, "Thus far, no further." I had to dump it because I was getting tired of the constant shock testing. What sense does any of this make? Can somebody explain to me what would be the purpose of being in a situation with somebody who keeps disrespecting you? The first piece of disrespect is enough to walk away. Why continue? Why have two or three or four or five? Why? Why? Why are these people disrespecting you to begin with? You have to ask yourself this. Like, this whole thing doesn't make no sense to me. You're going to take her out on a date. You're going to spend money. You're going to look good. You're going to do everything. She's going to get dressed up to go on a date. You're going to do something really nice for her. And then she's going to insult you. Listen, it's one thing to insult someone normally. It's another when I'm trying to take you out on a date and I'm going out of my way to do something nice for you. And then you insult me in that moment. And then say that what you wanted was for me to not be insulted, but also for me to be insulted, but respond in a way where I tell you that I'm insulted, but I won't be able to tolerate your insults. And then what you do is then you insult me more. This is dumb. All of this makes absolutely no sense. It's just disrespect for disrespect's sake. And the fact that you've given this disrespect a new name has given these people more rope to do it. Now they just do it and do it and do it and do it, and you just normalize it and normalize it and normalize it. All the while paying these bills, bending the knee, bending the knee. What's wrong with you? Seriously, what's wrong with you? Who raised you, man? How were you raised to tolerate disrespect? I don't care if they call it an ice cream sundae with a banana split. It's still disrespect. You know you're being disrespected. She knows she's being disrespectful. And let's be clear. You are approaching somebody who thinks disrespect is a form of communication. She thinks that she can communicate a positive message through being disrespectful. And then there are men, these knee benders, that will justify this and tell you that not only is it normal, it's for her safety, it's for her convenience, it's for her peace of mind. No, it's for your belittling, for nothing more than that. For absolutely nothing more than that. And I proved it by saying this is a person who can be grateful for the smallest kindest gesture and their work, but she appreciates nothing that you do. Right? Where is the shock test at work? Why don't they provide shock tests at work? Why don't they provide any shock tests at work? Just explain that to me. Why are they only providing shock tests out here in these streets, in these romance wars? Right? Because it's not a real thing. It's just an insult. If a shock test was an actual real thing, the first person they would shock test is their boss at work. They would come in there and shock test him, but they won't dare. They won't dare. But they feel like, oh, this is the perfect chance to see if this shock testing thing actually works. Right? And you tolerate it. Right? And you tolerate this thing. And then they confuse the thing, right? Oh, I'm insulting you so that you won't be insulted. Shut up. I've had enough of these people. And then you get a knee bender like young Simba 1991 who's going to justify this and then explain that it escalates and escalates and escalates. The minute she said chicken wings, that was it. That was the limit. For the sake of consistency, I have another one here. This one is for veins of gold. Veins of gold. Veins of gold, right? Let's hear what Veins of Gold, who published this in January 17, 2023. He says the shock test shared definition, a category of exploitative lies, gaslighting, assertive actions, or passivity that are used to manipulate or force out how trusting or clueless or tolerant or accepting a person is of you in that mode, or as a spiteful check for hypocrisy, a shock test in response. It's also used as a manipulative check of their conformity to normies, simps, yes, the simpletons, the sympathizers, yes, those kinds, etc., views and empathy biases. I'm assuming what he's saying here, Veins of Gold, is that it is done to see what is actually happening on either side. So she wants to see if she can manipulate you, or she's gonna have to use force, or you're gonna manipulate her and use force. If you're trusting, naive, or clueless, or if you're tolerant or not tolerant, right? It's there to check your temperature to see, well, if I insult you, how's this gonna go? How do you think it's gonna go, genius? Just just think about the kind of mind that is wondering curiously, inquisitively sitting there thinking, if I insult this person, will he respond in kindness? No, he will not. No one is ever going to respond in kindness to being insulted by a loser. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. No one is ever going to respond kindly to being insulted by a loser. This is this reason. Have you ever seen a situation where a celebrity is fighting a complete nobody? Right, where a celebrity is just having, minding his own business, doing his thing. Then he turns sharply and has words in front of cameras and everybody with a complete nobody, a loser. Because you're a nobody. You shouldn't even be addressing certain kinds of people at a certain level. And then you have the audacity to come out and then insult that person instead of just ask for an opportunity or a job. Because that's really where you are in the level of things, right? You're a beggar, right? And you're here because of me, right? I paid. This money didn't come from God. It came from me, right? And you have these people. He calls them the normies. That's not a term that I use, right? I use the knee benders for simps and all that. I use the knee benders and the counterparts. That's who he's talking about. He's talking about the knee benders and these counterparts. You know, this is what they do to test each other, these people. Really, this is what they do. That's why you find these relationships that are so fractured, where the people are together, but they just can't stand each other. Because this woman keeps insulting this man, and this man just shuts her out. He just blocks her out, just sick and tired of her. Because she's hoping that, what she really wants is an argument. Because in an argument, she gets attention. She wins the argument, she gets attention. She loses the argument, she gets attention. That's what it's really about. It's not about testing the waters and seeing how you behave. It's about you did really good. You paid for this excellent room. You nailed it. You got this island. You nailed it. Look at this view. Nailed it. Look at this delicious meal. You nailed it. Everything you did was spectacular. And not only that, you paid for all this. You paid for it. And you're killing it. And she cannot stand that. She cannot stand that. They cannot stand to be outdone. And they are constantly being outdone. Right? And then what she does is she wants to sour this moment with an argument and a fight that takes the attention away from this spectacular accomplishment that you've just had and puts it on her. Right? Now, as soon as you respond and call her an ingrate, right? Which she is, she's gonna say, why are you being mean to me? Right? And you say, I'm responding to your insults. Now, consider this. This shock test is a normal standard practice. It happens all the time. People are coming there to insult you, and then when they insult you and you respond, now they are shocked. As if they had no idea how this started. But here you have the definition for it. Here you said it's an insult in order for you to see how someone will respond. You insulted them, they responded. How did you anticipate this? So, on the one hand, you didn't want them to respond in a cowardly way, but on the other hand, you don't want a tough response. You think your insults are going to garner praise. You're wasting your time with these people, man. I'm telling you the truth. If you're with somebody who thinks like this, how are you ever going to get this person to see anything logically? She thinks that insulting you is going to gain her favor with you. Just think about that. Just think about that. What? I don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous, it's pathetic, and of course it's wrong. If you're wondering, well, maybe there's a point to this that makes sense, all of this is nonsense. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. How are you going to insult someone and then say you're doing it for your safety? You're going to pick a fight with me and then try and be safe? Oh, now you want to be safe? You pick a fight with me and then you go look for safety. Why don't you go look for safety first and avoid the fight? Doesn't that make more sense? Why would you insult someone and then say, well, I don't feel safe after I insulted you? No, really. Really, genius. Really. Is that why you didn't get a degree? Is that why you dropped out of university? Because you have ideas like this. These are your ideas. These are your ideas. That's why you've been sitting in the same position for 15 years and no one will ever promote you. Because you think insults are going to get you praise. And the reason they won't fire you is because they don't want to get sued. If it's done by abusers, sadists, psychos, then it's a pushover check to see how far they can get away with harmful manipulations of him, to exploit him for his time and money, scapegoat him, talk him into something useless to him, like a dare, right? That's what this is. That's what this is. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, this is a dare. That's exactly what this is. She's daring you to do something. I'm telling you the truth. She's daring you to do something because she knows that you're in a situation where no matter what you do, you're going to lose. This is really the first step in you bending the knee. If you respond in one way and she goes the other way. So if you respond in anger and she now cowers away, and then you switch from being angry to worrying about her mood. Oh, no, 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 please don't be afraid. I'm not trying to do that. You know how these guys, I've seen these guys do this all the time. This is a woman that you met who was drunk as a skunk of all kinds of intoxicants and substances, who now is afraid to sit on a dining room table and eat a piece of fish. She is terrified at eating that fish. When you met her, she had been doing intoxicants all day with all kinds of people. But now suddenly she can't eat and look at a piece of fish. Right? Now you've insulted her. Oh no, I don't feel safe. And how do I make myself feel safe? Oh, let me insult you. What? None of this makes sense. This dating situation is nothing but blatant, pathetic lies. The whole thing. The fact that on the one hand your woman acts like an idiot every time she gets home, but she's a perfect employee. What? That don't make no sense. 8 hours of the day, not one incident. She can't spend 10 minutes at home without swearing and using words like ain't and y'all. And then she'll combine them and say, ain't y'all. Oh, professionals don't say ain't, and they definitely don't say y'all. This whole thing is a lie, man. The whole thing, every peel of the onion, every time we peel back a layer of this onion, every layer that we remove shows another blatant deception, right? It's a dare. She just wants to see what you're gonna do. You respond with anger, she's a victim. You respond with patience, kindness, benevolence, calmness, she thinks you're a weak pushover. Does that make any sense? How do you know this? How do you know? How do you know that I'm sitting here thinking you're a complete idiot? How could you compare this meal with chicken wings? And I just dismissed that. And now you think, oh, well, he's weak. He doesn't know how to handle me. I'm a real woman. You're insane. You're insane. You think insulting people is going to make them fall in love with you? Who raised you, man? Who raised you to not be grateful? Who raised you to not appreciate when people do things for you? Who raised you to compare high-class things with gutter trash? The kind of thing that pigs won't even eat. Who raised you, man? You know, how do you come out of like socialization and be here and believe that this is an appropriate way to respond to human beings, and then think that people are gonna treat you with humility? This is madness. It concludes here with a side note. If the provocateurs are sadists, it's often a self-harm or humiliating one, right? Yes, they love it to see you self-humiliate yourself on their honor. Why would you want that? Why would you want a woman like this? Why would you want a woman who, in a moment of joy, will ruin it by being pathetic? You know, I mean, there's a million ways to ruin a moment. Why be pathetic, right? Let's conclude by saying in basic everyday infantile tantrums, nagging, passivity can be shock tests used out of laziness, fear, or inaptitude, being spoiled. I'm not going to change nothing about that sentence. It's perfect. She's probing their simping limits by shock testing men into paying her bills. Told you about those bills. Throwing aggro sims against other men. Aggro sim. What does that mean? And monkey branching. Yes, monkey branching. That's a big issue that we need to talk about. And there's a lot of contradictions in there too. They've offered something generally considered weird to me. I wonder if they're very serious or shock testing. I'm not sure where that sentence comes from. They're shock testing me to wash their dishes for them just by leaving them annoyingly in the way. Okay, so I think he's describing different situations, right? Monkey branching when they bring other men into your lives. I mean, I'm not even gonna talk about all of that. Like this is what I was saying when I was doing research about shock testing, and then I came up to the conclusion that this is just nothing but disrespect, right? These are the things that I found, like dealing with agro sims, paying bills, leaving dishes out. Like you wash dishes and somebody will leave a dish out after you wash dishes just to insult you. Like there's a myriad of ways that these people can insult you. And to me, I find that it insults my intelligence. For you to call you insulting me a test of my abilities, are you insane? You are not qualified to assess me, and I don't accept that. This is why I can't deal with relationships. The whole institution, the whole invention of dating is a failure. The whole thing is a failure, man. Look at the situation where you now have to take insults to prove your strength. You now have to take insults in order to pay bills. Come on, man. Come on. This whole thing is out of hand. This whole situation is out of hand. Dating as a whole is a mess. It is such a bad mess and such a bad experience that in order to try and qualify a mate, you want to go and insult them and then call it progression. And then think in your mind that these people are going to praise you and love you and adore you. And then when they don't respond to you the way that you think they should, you insult them some more. Just stop it. I know what, I've actually had enough of all of this. I'm at the point where I made my decision. There's no such thing as a shock test. You're being disrespected. They can't define it. They can't bring it down to a working definition. It has no limits. Anything that disrespects you and belittles you, should you not tolerate that disrespect, you will then be told that, oh, it's a shock test. Oh, it's not an insult. You don't understand it. You're overreacting by me telling you that this spectacular situation that we in, this exotic island, this beachfront resort, this spectacular view, this spectacular meal, that spectacular catamaran is equal to wings, to chicken wings and French fries, and a carbonated drink packed full of sugars and calories. That's what we are. This is an insult, my friend, and you should not tolerate it. You should get your vasectomy done. You should get a vasectomy done so that as soon as you hear this kind of nonsense, you just walk away. You just walk away. It's the best move that you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be going from one shock test to the other, with no end in sight, wondering, she did this last time and I passed, and then she'll just do something else and I'll fail. Then she'll just do something else and you pass. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, man. These things don't exist. These shock tests, they don't exist. It's just somebody with a desire to insult you because they loathe you for your inabilities and your failures. This is not the person you should be with. One insult is too much. Especially because you know this is a person who has the capacity to not insult anyone every day, all day, for years. But you is nothing but insults. You shouldn't be tolerating that. You really shouldn't be tolerating that. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Then you don't have to. This is the end of the video, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I really appreciated the time that we've spent, particularly on this video. and these definitions. I'm still not satisfied with these definitions. I'm still not satisfied at all with these definitions, but I understand the problem. And I understand that this is a problem that, quite frankly, has no limit, because the people who practice this thing, they don't want a limit. They want the right to be able to continue to insult you and whoever they want for as long as they want. And that's why this thing is so undefined. And that's why you need to get a vasectomy and to freeze your sperm. Right? You need to protect your seed, you need to protect your sperm, and you need to protect your solitude. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace. Thank you again for your time, your patience, your energy, and your attention. Please, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like. I'm still getting used to this outro. Leave a like. You know, that whole leave a like it just doesn't come natural to me. It's just not coming natural to me. Leave a like. Just indicate your approval like a professional, right? Leave a like. It just doesn't come together. Let's all stand together in unity and togetherness. Leave a like. Man. I'm gonna end a video on shock testing by asking people to leave a like. We need a better term for this. We need a better term for this. However, please leave a like. It's not coming together, but it will. Please share the video with people that you think would be interested and can benefit from this information. I really think a lot of men can benefit from some clarity, and I'm really trying to offer that. Also, freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. And if you would like to be part of the conversation, please leave a comment, and I will respond to as many of them as I possibly can. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains the master of the deceptive arts, and I'm wishing you a wonderful, fantastic, and lovely day.